Good afternoon, everyone. It is really a matter of a great pleasure for us. Today we have an eminent speaker, academician, administrator, and moreover my senior. I worked with him for 2 years when I was in the beginning phase of my professional career. And on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society, I welcome you, sir, for this today's session. Although participation, the number is less, but it will be an enriching session, we believe. And before we start, we will just meditate for 1 minute. I request Mr. Divyanshu to kindly play the music. Please start. Actually, we really feel very honored to have Dr. Ramesh Chandra Gaur sir with us today. He visited Puducherry to attend a conference at Puducherry University, and he had many programs with different institutions, and we had a discussion. We requested sir to kindly spare your valuable time to enlighten us what is happening particularly in the cultural sector. Sir, for your kind information that Sri Aurobindo Society, the mother is the permanent president of Sri Aurobindo Society, and Shripati Madam is our chairman, but due to some of the unavoidable circumstances, he has some meetings, so he was not able to join. He has sent his best wishes for this program, sir. And Sri Aurobindo Society is basically registered as a registered institution under the Society's Registration Act, and it has been recognized by the Department of Science and Industrial Research, that is the Zero Scientific and Industrial Research Organizations, under the Department of Science and Technology, under Ministry of Science and Technology, sir. And also earlier the Society had this Institution of National Importance and United Nations Economic and Social Council status. Those two things we are in a process to renew. More than 300 branches all over India, the Society is striving to implement, particularly transforming the social ethos and to many sectors, starting from the culture, education, health, sustainable development, tourism, also new things we have started recently. We have jail reform projects. And when we talk about culture, basically culture is one of the promising areas, because Sri Aurobindo has extensively written on the grand cultural ethos of Indian culture, and in his defense of Indian culture, he has gave insightful discussions and ideas how to explore the true spirit of Indian culture. And sir, we are working here as I was part of the IGNCA under your dynamic guidance and support, but I was also associated with the institutions under the Ministry of Culture for 14 years. So after joining here since 2.5 years, we have co-aligned some of the projects like scientific heritage and knowledge system of India, this intangible cultural heritage, tourism and sustainable development, and also we have capacity building program for the artists and cultural professionals. And Dr. Gopal Jayaraman is there. We have shared many occasions and many programs. And we have also started a project called that is International Cultural Relations. Since I worked with IGNCA for 4 years, especially in the cultural exchange program, that is one of my favorite areas to work on. So we started the project, and we are today we feel very honored because we have organized such program under this International Cultural Heritage Relations project. So I would like to briefly introduce Professor Dr. Ramesh Chandra Gaur. He is the PhD Fulbright Scholar from Virginia Tech University, USA, and currently he is the Dean Administration and Director and Head of Kalanidhi Division of Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts under the Ministry of Culture. And he is basically, it would take approximately half an hour to introduce him. More than hundreds of committees, and wherever you will see, you will find Dr. Gaur's presence is there. But most prominent are, he was the former director of National School of Drama under the Ministry of Culture, and he was also the key person to establish the Indian Institute of Heritage. That is one of the new institutions which Ministry of Culture has established. It is basically in Noida. And Sir is also the member of International Advisory Committee, UNESCO Memory of the World Program. He is the co-chair and member of UNESCO Global Task Force International Decade of Indigenous Languages, and also the member of the Governing Council, Infinite Association of Indian Universities, AIU Cultural Committee, BOS, KU Kurukshetra University, Shanchi University, and many others. He is also the chairman of NDLTD Conference Committee and member Board of Studies of and associate editor of EYD. He is also the chairman of Niti Aayog Project Management Committees for networking of Union Ministries and Department Libraries. He was also the ex-member of International Consultative Committee on Digital Dunhuang China Project, expert group for UNESCO International Center for Documentary Heritage, that is the ICTS, South Korea, and Research Council CSIR, NIS, IGNCA. He was also the ex-chairman of IFLA International Advisory Committee on Cultural Heritage, and an expert particularly in the field of research ethics, plagiarism, digitization, digital preservation of cultural heritage and archives. So this is basically a small introduction to Gaur sir. Moreover, I want to introduce him because Sri Aurobindo Society, Ashram, Aurobindo belongs to the spiritual things, whatever we do to offer to the line. I have my personal experience because when I shifted from Puducherry to Delhi in 2009, I joined IGNCA and sir was my senior at that time. Being a student of literature for the first time, I saw some 2.5 lakhs of slide collections from different museums, the libraries and archives, and also with the guidance and support of sir, I was involved in many of the exhibition projects, many conferences, even in the IFLA conferences I recall sir. And Gurudev Tagore's 150th birth anniversary, we had a beautiful exhibition. Unfortunately that Martingale we missed because some setups. So we had a beautiful memory, actually more than 1 decade. We had some small interactions, and I hope I meet with him more than a decade, sir. So this is a small interaction to Dr. Gaur sir, and we feel very happy to your presence here. You spent your beautiful time for accepting our invitation, and we love to interact. And today the participation is less because the exams are going on, universities and many other stuffs. But mother says that we do not believe in numbers, so all the spiritual initiations and big things happen with only person to person, sometimes in the single one. So I do not want to speak much thing, but before I request you to kindly share your valuable insights, I would like to give a honor to sir.
Thank you. I also give you my book for your library. The Languages of India.
Today morning we had a very wonderful session, sir, delivered at the French Institute of Pondicherry, and he was talking about this Memory of the World Register program. And this book is very interesting. I'll request, sir, if you can get one more copy.
I will send you.
I will keep it in our library.
I will send you how many copies you want. I will send it to you.
The uniqueness of this book is, sir, has covered more than 1600
1650
pieces of India. So it is one of the unique books. We'll love to keep a copy in your library, sir.
I will send you another book, Mapping of Archives in India. So that is also very recent.
So now I request, sir, to kindly share his valuable insights.
Thank you, dear Kishor. It's indeed a great honor, and I also don't believe in number, because I remember in an international conference in France, I delivered my keynote when there were only 4 people in the hall. So this is not, numbers are not important how, and I don't consider this as a lecture, I consider this as a kind of interaction with all of you, and I request, like, wherever you want me to interrupt or want to get some idea or want to correct me or want to add something, please feel free to stop me, we'll be happy to. Thanks, Kishor, for your kind introduction. But one thing which would I like to inform you, which as a part of my introduction, it's an indeed honor. In 2020-22, I have an opportunity to get one tableau created for Swami Aurobindo. That was my honor, and I think that's something I don't know. That tableau was created in just 12 working days in 19 days. So that's the power of the Swami Aurobindo, because generally tableau construction in government starts 6 months before, sometime in August, and this was on 7th January when Prime Minister asked Ministry to get created a tableau in the 26th January parade on Swami Aurobindo, and that task was given to me, and I don't know how it happened. It was full COVID that time, and I see people getting affected with COVID, and I survived. There is no problem, nothing. I was just freely walking, and so that was the blessings of Swami Aurobindo, and I pay my homage to him in this very, very important spiritual city. When we talk about the culture unites all, why we need this slogan? Because recently when you see the G20 meeting took place, this was the slogan basically very much highlighted by our ministry, and talks a lot about culture unites all. When we need unity, when there is a kind of divide, and unity only required when we feel there is some kind of conflict, there was some kind of divide. So let me just begin with some kind of my understanding of this divide, why we need culture to unite us all. If you see Indian civilization, I'm not an historian and not an expert on Indology also, but I see from the literature that India has minimum at least 5,000-year-old history of civilization. That's evidence are available, and we can easily take out from various sources. So you see, talk about our epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, or Bhagavad Gita, or even in this part of the country, Tirukkural, or many of the variations of Ramayana or other important texts. One thing is clear that India started, or India having a kind of history of something which today when we see that kind of division was never exist. We never have any religion, we never have any caste system. We have dharma. Dharma was not religion. Basically, this dharma and religion are totally two different things. And when we talk about Maryada Purushottam Ram, his entire philosophy was of dharma, not religion. How this religion came into being, as per my understanding, that started when we got the first Mughal invasion. Because we all know that if you talk about, if you say that Hindu religion, then Hindu religion is the quite oldest, and all, it may be history of Muslims or Christianity or any other sub-segment of Hindu religion, everything comes later. So basically, the first time the kind of division took place when we were invaded by the Mughals, and suddenly it becomes Hindu-Muslim. And that was the something, we all know that when any invasion took place, the invaders always try to destroy your history, your culture, your education, they want to impose their own thought process, and they want to, and that was evident because there was no Muslim before Mughal invasion. Whatever Muslims came into India is after Mughal invasion only. So that they because they were in few in numbers, because they were having strong arm power. So they to increase the kind of like population, they start conversions. That may be forceful conversion, or maybe conversion based on certain creating misconception. So that way, like, we start having something called religion in terms of, and division started and took place. And similarly, if we talk about after that, I think this was more than 800 or 1000 years of invasion. Then we have this European invasion when Britishers and this part, like there was some other country in Goa also. So this European invasion, mainly with Britishers, they also came with certain kind of mindset to rule, and when somebody want to rule you, they want to impose that why I am ruling, and because by the time world was little more civilized, more education, more democracy, so somewhere I think they have to justify why they are ruling it, and they created a kind of divide, and they utilize India's history and India's culture, in a way that they enhance the division through caste, through ethnic groups, through various kind of, so that division, and because they want to prove that we are ruling India, because India is a country of snake charmers, they don't have civilization, they don't have history, they don't have, that was the kind of mindset they were trying to create all over the world, because they want to prove that they are doing something good for India, and they are here to improve the situation, and every ruler or invader do this kind of thing. So I think that was the burst period when our culture, our education, because what Mughals were not able to do in 800 years, Britishers able to do it in just 100 or 200 years, because they eroded our history, they rewritten the history, they misinterpreted, they, like, take example of Manusmriti. Manusmriti was rewritten in that context that basically it was shown as a Hindu scripture, a Hindu religion kind of like scripture, which was not, because they want to have some kind of basic division or understanding among the society. So with that kind of division, they able to divide the society, putting each other in name of the religion, because then they have two religion, mainly Muslims and Hindu, to put it each against each other, and then also within Hindu religion, they able to divide on the basis of various castes, and they enhance that casteism through various kind of like, and which truly speaking, this caste, if you go to the history of caste in India, I'm not 100% sure, but this classification was based on the responsibility and the work culture. Like Kshatriya who were fighting in the army, they were known as Kshatriyas. Who were doing business, they were given the title of the Vaishya. Those who were doing the kind, they were not educated or less educated, they were doing the work, they were called Shudra. So these were not the caste. These was the kind of classification based on the work culture. And a Brahmin who were doing education, or those who were imparting, doing certain kind of philosophy. I think slowly that diluted and converted. So all this, and also that's the story of India. Like then if you talk about worldwide, I had an opportunity to travel almost Southeast Asia or East Asia. I have seen Dunam, I have seen Ajanta. These similarities indicate that this boundaries, what we are talking about, nations were not there. You go to Angkor Wat in Cambodia, one of the largest religious complex. So it clearly indicates that at least it may be a story of Kandahar. I have been to Indonesia, Malaysia, and I have seen that how this conversion take place from Hindus to Buddhism to Jainism to Muslims. So that conversion based on the rule. Recently, I was a keynote speaker in one of the conference on recent trend in South Asian literature. There is one Indonesian scholar. She presented a story of a ruler of East Java. Now, she was trying to communicate that this king was a Hindu believer, and he promoted Hindu culture and Hindu religion. But the fact of the matter, the story is that it was a Hindu kingdom in East Java, and there are enough evidence available in literature. So you see all over the world, but now that has gone. We are in a different world. We are talking about something where we have nations, and there are a lot of political or democracy. So the world has totally changed. So now when in this today's context, when we are talking like culture unites all, it has significance in the present context. We can't go to history, we can't change the history, we cannot go back to that era, but at least we can learn from that, and we can correct many things. So that kind of division based on our faith and beliefs, various kind of ethnic groups, various kind of like even costumes represent a certain culture, food, cuisine, like everything has a certain culture. You have worked in corporate. When we say it's a corporate culture. Why we say it's a corporate culture? Because there are certain kind of system and beliefs and faith and strategies and discipline. Like I have read this re-engineering management by the James Happy and Michael, and I applied that re-engineering management application into certain organization. So that the modern context of connecting culture or talking about culture and uniting culture is entirely different from what it was thousands of years before. So in the present context, what is important? I think the first important thing is the humanity. We have to believe that the first shared identity, if something is there, that is humanity. We all are human beings, and every human being deserves the same equal respect and equal rights. So that's the first shared identity. If you have to see like shared identity, you have to see within the country or within the globe. that also makes difference. Like when we are talking about shared identity in India, like I am from north part of India and here in South India. There is a lot of difference into various kind of faith and beliefs and traditions, but there are a lot of common shared identity. We have lot common shared festivals. We enjoy many festivals which are of common shared heritage. Ram has presence and beliefs all over India. So that's our shared identity. There is our shared belief. So the most important thing of culture to unite is we have to identify those shared identities, because if we have to bring people together, we have to make, or we have to tell that these are our shared identities. That's why we are here. Like we don't believe in that theory that we were the Aryans migrated from some other part of the world to this world. We never believes in that, because we believe that we are in the oldest civilization in the world. How can we migrated from somewhere else when the civilization started from this part of the world? How can it possible? So we don't believe in that kind of like statements, and why these statements are there, that if you see the after during this British invasion, all kind of like history books or the literature written, and one more problem what we faced during this invasion, that most of our literature, India is possessing near about 1 crore manuscripts. We have at IGNCA we have documented 4.5 million manuscripts. We know these manuscripts are available in which library, in which location, and these manuscripts are in which scripts? Pali, Prakriti, Brahmi, Nandi Nagari, Granth, Tiglari, Modi. And most of these scripts, neither me nor neither many of you, only the scholars can read it. So our entire history and literature was in the form of those scripts which nobody knows about it. And unfortunately during that period, translation didn't take place, and instead of studying that literature, we start studying what came as an European model. The influential Indians who were having capacity to go abroad to study, then they become part of framework or a model, or the leaders or the policy maker or the educators. So many of the things written in the even after independence, if you see the initial years, I have been in JNU for 7 years. I have very closely worked with many professors. I don't blame anybody for those kind of mindsets. I know that they were reading the literature which was written, and with certain kind of facts were given. But we never tried to find out, are these facts are correct or not? Are these facts because we have only one mechanism to verify those facts from our history, and our history was written in form of the scripts and languages which are not known to the common people. So a common man cannot read a manuscript. He needs Indologic support of an Indologist or some scholar who can translate into common language, English or the regional languages or Hindi, whatever one can read it. So in this context, like that real truth about the various facts didn't came into being. So that way the division by gender, and today, like when we are trying to create, filling up that divide and try to create reducing that gap, it requires a lot of efforts in that. So first is the shared identity, then next thing is that when we go to when I go to any part of the world and I suddenly see some Asian there, particularly persons from Bangladesh or Pakistan. Here we may be fighting with each other, but in US or in other countries, we suddenly feel that we are brothers, and we are interconnected to each other, and we show that kind of affectionate and the love that how it emerged. It emerged through the culture, through costumes, the language, because that connects us, that unites us when we are away from that. Because when there is a majority, and when you see that, so that costume connects you, unites all kind of like this, and then comes art and artifacts. Like if you see the types of craft form we are having, there are a lot of similarities between one region to another regions. Maybe there may be some more varieties in one region, less varieties in the other region. So this art and craft definitely connect us. It may be pottery making. Maybe different styles of pottery, but it is all over India. We know that is the art which is connecting and which is very common to all of us. Similarly, when we talk about take example, temple architecture of India. There may be different variations in temple architecture, but when you talk about the deities and gods and goddesses, a lot of things which connect us. The kind of the prayer we do or worship we do. There are so many things connect us and unites us in form of these. And one more thing, culture of fairs and festivals. See, we have been known a country with fairs and festivals, starting from Mahakumbh. Every state, every region, and these fair and festivals are not just religious. Like next month, or not this month, on 14th of February, we are celebrating Vasant Panchami, which is common all over India. Everybody, and it is not just, definitely there is a belief that it is the birthday of the goddess of learning, Ma Saraswati, but there are so many other stories connected by the Vasant Panchami celebrations. Similarly, like we took a project here in South India, rice paddy culture of South India. See, during the harvesting of rice paddy, there are so many fairs and festivals were organized, or still organized in many parts of that country. When you go to Punjab, North Past, Baisakhi is celebrated like anything. Even in, there are still festivals in India which are attended by more than 100 millions. At least I know 3-4 festivals which are attended by more than 100 million people. In that context, like you can understand the interest of the people. They know that this is something very crowdy, lot of chances of some kind of mishappening, but people enjoy it. So these fairs and festival also are their culture also unites us and give us an opportunity to meet each other and bless each other, and then talk about various kind of traditions, like our cultural tradition. It may be marriage traditions. If you go to like most of the part, many things are common in marriage traditions. The kind of excitement, kind of the rituals taking place in marriages, some difference, but many things are in common. So that unites us. And when we talk about various kind of other social traditions, and not just that, if you talk about starting from birth to death, every time we have some or other occasion to celebrate, to organize, and this is common in most of our regions. That unites us. That's make. So in this context, in context of India, we have so many shared common heritage. We have so many shared faith and beliefs. uh, which unites us, and which are related to culture. So, like we have celebrated this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. During 1 year, we have such huge programs to pay homage to the unsung heroes of our freedom struggle. So, and when we are talking about these unsung heroes, paying tribute to them, it is not just from one part of the India, from entire country. Every nook and corner where one unsung hero is emerging, that unites us. And in IGNCA, we are making various kind of documentaries. Like we have made number of documentaries on Ramayana. Ramlila is performed in different part of India in different way. In rural area, if you go, the performance, but everything is same. The characters are same. The maybe some dialogue delivery may be different, or the kind of like dialogue narration will be different, but the basic concept and context of the Ramayana is same. It may be, and then you talk about various kind of kathas, what you in English popularly we call it storytelling. Kathas are so popular in our country, like in each part of India, you will find the various types of kathas related to religious things, related to our folk tales, folk stories. So all this also as a part of culture unites us. So now this is something like I'm talking about India, but like if you see the globe, as we have talked about G20 countries currently, but this is applicable to the entire world. Gandhiji become a kind of national hero or Rashtrapita through culture of peace. But it is not just about India. If you talk about Martin Luther King or Nelson Mandela in recent times, you will find so many such heroes, though those promoted culture of peace. So that unites the world, because they become respectable all over the world. Like go to any country, globally, everybody believes that culture of peace is the best way to resolve the conflicts and to come out of this kind of situation world is facing. So basically what these are scattered thoughts. I am not prepared any structured presentation to speak. Just Kishor discussed with me to share my thoughts on that. I strongly believe that like our slogan of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam was not a slogan. It was very much in practice in India. We have done it. We have like when there was kings and kingdoms only, that time it was very much in practice. We have like how, see, count the population of invaders. It was not even 10% of the Indian population that time. We could have thrown them like anything, without even weapon also. But the kind of like environment, and like we respect everybody, we welcome anybody, everybody. So there are so many, like if you go the real history, you will find that we never have that kind of like philosophy. So this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what has been promoted, has to be understood in the right context. And culture really needs certain kind of pathways to collaborate and develop some kind of like balanced approach in dealing with modern issues of conflicts. It may be issues related to peace or equality. Like many times, I believe that it is easy to give lessons to the people or the countries which are not very well developed or least developed or less developed. But is there anybody to give the lessons to the wrongdoings by the world, so-called developed countries? Because that's a kind of inability, and when we talk about some kind of pathways to develop a balanced approach, there is no balanced approach there. Like we are talking about the global warming, the largest issue emerged from somewhere else, but the restrictions and all kind of lessons are being given to the countries which are not that developed. They are supposed to develop the model, and so as a person from cultural heritage, I strongly believe that since our ancient civilization till today, we have always been a peace-loving country. We always believe in Vasudhaiva. We can offer a lot to the world through our culture, and our culture, which I really feel very proud of it, and I take pride in our legacy. But somehow that pride only comes when younger generation should know about it, because there are many hidden facts, there are many things which are still not known to the many people. Particularly because when I talk to the people, sometimes because they are aggressive. Younger generation is always ask for evidences and proofs for believing something. They don't believe anything just like that. Like our generation may be still very obedient. If father says something, this is this, I believe in that. But now my daughter does not believe in it. She asks clarification. She never dare to raise questions to me. So now I think this time is little different, and I think in this context we have to be very active, and we have to really analyze all these issues, and I hope that the new researchers will focus on creating those kind of pathways and balanced approach, and also evidences like something like if I have to say this is this, then I have to have some evidences also. So in this context, like I'll be happy to have your opinion and feedback and suggestion, anything which you feel, because we are starting I want to conclude with this one. I strongly believe that this need to be promoted to younger generation. So from this month we are starting a series in Delhi called for colleges and universities. This is called Cultural Policy Chopal. So we are going to each and every college of Delhi University or university like Jamia, JNU, and we are inviting eminent scholar like Sanjeev Sanyal will be speaking in JNU on 14, rediscovering our maritime heritage of India. So similarly, lot of such talks we are organizing, and the basic purpose is that our young minds should know about culture. They should know real or true facts about our culture. So that may give us more aware or more educated youth in terms of culture, and when they know the real potential of the culture, because UN has a lot of slogan, culture for development and sustainable goals and other things, but it can't be just a slogan, or it cannot be just UN or UNESCO can implement. This is each and every country has to do something to really come out with that kind of situation, to really educate the young minds, because they are the future, and we have to bring out truth, so they will be really feeling connected with the culture. And I strongly believe that when you know your culture, you love it, you feel proud of it, and it gives a lot of happiness and a lot of a sense of pride to all of you. So with this I close it here, and I will be happy to have your comments or any further information on that. Thank you.
It was a wonderful session, and when I was part of IGNCA, sometimes we had the opportunity to listen from Sir, and I recall that under his guidance we started a program that is Colonizers Outreach, some lecture series. So sometimes during these programs we had the opportunity to listen to him, and I was so wondered because being a strict and hardcore administrator, he finds time to, and within a short time, within half an hour, he touched almost all the aspects. So you spoke about this diversity, especially. I would like to just quote what Sri Aurobindo and Mother mentions about this. You mentioned about the diversity and all the foreign invasions, how this culture was. It was not destroyed, actually some modifications because this is immortal culture, actually, what you mentioned, because the spirit is there. One can destroy the civilization, but one cannot destroy the spirit of the soul. And slowly, because you also mentioned about the strong literary heritage, especially starting from the Vedas, and its applied aspects which was flourished to the architectural sites, even in the cross-cultural things also you mentioned. And the similarities, especially the shared cultural heritage, that is much more important to find the similarities between, not only between countries, but also communities, the peoples, and also to strengthen the future things. It was really a wonderful session. I would like to quote Sri Aurobindo's one quotation. In his The Ideal of Human Unity, Sri Aurobindo clearly addresses one, the nature's law in our progress. Because when we talk about this Indian culture, especially, it was, in many cases, it was highly criticized by the Western people. I do not know what way they interpret it. When I was doing my masters, I got a book. The title was India, but the first line was horrible. I'll tell you, I have reminded like India is a rich country, but the second half is very dangerous actually. India is a rich country, but inhabited by the poor. Actually, what the hell is this? I will not read this book actually. How can I, in what way we can actually? So Sri Aurobindo writes that realize a secure, clear and firmly held unity in principle, a rich, even an unlimited diversity in its application might be possible without any fear of desert, confusion and strife. Sri Aurobindo also, in his defense of Indian culture, writes, Indian civilization has been the form and expression of a culture as great as any of the historic civilizations of mankind, great in religion, great in philosophy, great in science, great in thought of many kinds, great in literature, art and poetry, great in the organization of society and politics, and great in craft and trade and commerce. Sir has beautifully mentioned about the wrong interpretations, especially the scriptures, the traditions and the communities. Even if the great scholar Max Muller, in his Hibbert lectures, which was published under the title India What It Can Teach Us, Max Muller refers when the people of Europe was traveling in the jungles, there was such a place on the earth where the people were talking about the Atman and Paramatman. I will point to India. Max Muller has mentioned these things. The title is India What It Can Teach Us basically. Why Max Muller said that I will point to India? Because he never visited. He was basically from German, and the British people hijacked, or he went, the British people gave a very difficult task to him to interpret the Vedas. Neither that time he was familiar with the Sanskrit language nor with the English language, and he learned that language and tried to interpret those Vedas. And he was the first who collected with the traditional Pandits. We published the Vedas and all these things. So when we talk about the grand cultural heritage, what Sir has very meticulously and very precisely mentioned, so culture, what we have a little understood, is it has its own soul which is never decay. And the message of this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which was one of the strongest mottos we can say India's G20 presidency, and we have seen what the vibration was continuing not only through the country but also all over the world. This is a very unique concept actually. So this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is only 1/4 of a mantra that is from the Maha Upanishad. The Rishi clearly defines like the entire universe is a family, but how? If it's the concept is, but why we are not implementing? The Rishi clearly defines Ayam Nijaha Parveti Ganana Laguchetasam. That means this is mine, that is yours. That division comes where the conscious is not fully aware yet. Laguchetas. But Udara Charitanam, whose consciousness is fully awakened, developed and transformed. Udara Charitanam too, but for them, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So this is the message which is mentioned in the Upanishads, even if prior to that, the Vedas also very clearly defines Yatra Vishwa Bhavati Eka Nidam. The Rishi also again defines Yatra Vishwa Bhavati Eka Rupam. So many things, the treasures are there, and Sir very clearly mentioned about the shared cultural heritage, especially connecting cultures and communities. And IGNCA under the aegis of Ministry of Culture, they have the area study program. I was fortunate enough to be part of the particularly Southeast Asian countries, East Asia, Central and West Asian countries. I have worked for 4 years. Sometimes I ask many people, what is beyond the ocean? Sir, that's beautiful, you will see after that. Many people say, oh, it is water only. I don't know, it's not water. You just go some 700 kilometers from straight from here. The Port Blair is there, but from Port Blair are 600, all the Southeast Asian countries are there. So we have a shared cultural heritage, and Sir has beautifully defined. And I hope that culture particularly, we have just created the diversity. Like in many attacks were happened, in the world history also we find, when the civilizations were isolated, there was no contact with each other. When they came in contact with each other, they forgot how to live in a harmonious way. They fought with each other. So the world history says the clash of civilizations, this fighting happened. Then all the civilizations was collapsed, and the rise of nation, the concept of the nations, even if this process is still continuing. Many nations, it is being scattered into small nations. Everywhere we have created the boundaries. We have not left a single place where we can live. We have barriers, we have boundaries all over in the space, in the water, in the land, everywhere. So what's mentioned about this shared cultural heritage can be a tool, especially in terms of Indian culture, like the yoga as a soft power, especially in cultural diplomacy, in multiculturalism, and pluricultural things also, these things can be utilized. And sir, we are very much thankful for your ideas, especially you pointed about the younger generations and the activities which IGNCA has created, especially for the dissemination part. And we have eminent scholars, Madam from Philosophy Department, Puducherry University. Recently we met at the ISKCON conference at JNU. So Mr. Joy, my colleague from Puducherry, they are doing a lot of activities in the practical level, schools, villages. And Aurobindo is an artist and many others. So now this floor is open, so we can have an interactive session.
Can I give you an insight
Please,
from
please.
Indian philosophy?
Please, ma'am. You can use the mic.
So, Indian philosophy or its culture is known as Sanatana Dharma, which we all know. And this Hindu or Indian is because of the Persians who used it to give a geographical identity south of Indus River. And this is known as Manava Samskriti, Manava Dharma, because it is intended for human beings. And Samskriti is the word for culture, because the samskaras are responsible for our personality, whatever we are as such. And so the purification of the personality, culturally we have the 16 samskaras. Conception in the womb till Antyeshti, all this Vidyarambha, Karna Chetana, Namakarna, marriage and all these sort of sacraments, 16 sacraments. And sacraments have, the samskaras have two functions. One, they purify consciousness, which is polluted or contaminated by selfish tendencies, ashuddha vasanas. And they remind the individual that there are duties to discharge, because Indian philosophy is a duty-oriented philosophy. The three rinas, Deva Rina, Pitru Rina, Rishi Rina, and the performance of the Panchamaha Yajnas, which will be responsible for this consciousness Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Rishi Yajna, where doing Swadhyaya, that Manushya Yajna, Atithi Devo Bhava, where the social bonding takes place between people, and Bhuta Yajna, where we are seeing the one in nature, Vasudhaiva, not just the Jivas, but even the Jagat. So we are seeing everything as Brahman animating the Namarupa. And so this structure of our personality, if we take Vidyaranya's Jivan Mukti Viveka, Deha Vasana, conceit in the body, Deha Bhimana, so and so. Shastra Vasana, desire for lot of knowledge from different branches of the different systems. And Lokavasana, desire for name and fame. So these are the structure of the personality. And then we have these samskaras that are there. So the lower ones have to be replaced or substituted by the more elevating or edifying ideas, which we have in the different systems in the form of sadhanas. So the psychology involved here is substitution through cultivation of opposites. Like if a person is a miser, generosity. A short-tempered person will have to practice patience. An arrogant person should practice humility. One. The other is sakshi bhava. So by practicing that, all the enemies are within us. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, the Shadripus. And Ramayana and the Mahabharata symbolize that even one of these is enough to destroy even the greatest of individuals, like Ravana, who was a great Shiva Bhakta, a scholar and a warrior. Duryodhana symbolizes Lobha and Ravana symbolizes Kama. So among the six, even these two were sufficient to damage. Just like a small hole can sink a huge ship. So these are the weaknesses that human beings have to guard. And among the Purusharthas, excessive pursuit of artha, overindulgence in kama, no respect for dharma, and not at all bothered about moksha. This is the cause of all the present situation all over the world. And the youth across the globe, 5 problems: drinks, drugs, dress, dance, divorce. These 5 are responsible for the destruction of the society. Youth are going wayward because of this. There's a difference between modesty and modernity. So our cultural values we have to realize. We have to, even when the children are young, Hitopadesha, Jataka tales, all these sort of stories we have to teach the young. And that is why we have to bring in a total mental transformation and introduce yoga even at the school level. If any kind of subtle change in mental attitudes has to be brought in, and what we call Shastra, there are 4 criteria. We don't have to go by Western standards for calling science. Anubandha Chatushtaya, we have to state the pramana, the source of knowledge, the prameya or the vishaya that we deal with, the phala, the result that comes from the study of that discipline, and the adhikaran is the person who is qualified to pursue that. So when we take this Adhyatma Vidya, science of the soul, it's a moksha shastra. Because the purpose of human birth, wherever anybody is, as a human being, it is intended for all. And so the dullabham to get this human birth, and the best use that it has to be put to is attainment of moksha. Moksha is not a post-death experience, there is Jivan Mukti. And moksha is not a religious concept for that matter. It means total elimination of tapatraya, adhyatmika, adhibhautika, adhidaivika, and attainment of permanent happiness. Everybody wants, even a hedonist or a materialistic person wants happiness on a permanent basis. Only the modes for which they are trying to attain that are different. They have been taking to drinks or drugs or Vishaya Ananda, forgetting Sahaja Ananda, Atmananda, which is object independent happiness. They are pursuing object dependent happiness. That is not the solution. So, people have to be made aware. Education system. All the emphasis on Western philosophy and other things, they know more about Shakespeare, British, American history, all that, but very little about Kalidas, Kamban, our own rulers and our own itihasas and culture. So this is the task that we have ahead of us.
Yeah, it was a wonderful thing what you said. I just query, you mentioned about Anubandha Chatushtaya. Anubandha Chatushtaya, you referred Vedanta Sar or which one, which text? Because in Vedanta Sar the 4 Anubandhas are, Shraddhanand Dikshit said. Yeah. The first is Adhikari, Vishay, Shambhan and Prayojan. But you mentioned 4 in other texts you refer?
I was getting this information when I read Matilal's Perception.
Who is the author?
Matilal, the
But
one
the
who said Eastern religions and Western.
Yeah, particularly.
So he makes a reference where
this,
the knowledge systems are 4. Anvikshita, Varta, Dandaniti. And this is science. Science is based on experiment, hypothesis, experiment, observation. Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. It comes to the same. So these scientific techniques are there. Science in the narrow sense, Vishaya, botany studies, plants, zoology studies, animals. But when we say something is scientific and in-depth, rigorous, systematic study is also a scientific study. So Avasthatraya, Panchakosha, examine that, self-discovery.
Thank you.
Who am I?
Any other news?
That is what is responsible for self-alienation. Alienation from another, from our own true Brahman nature and the other phenomena in the Jagat.
Doing very
Question?
Yes.
I actually have a query for our guest. Sir, your heart of your karma is in administrating and putting together all these diverse institutions in the country, and you're doing that in the realm of culture, something that's very intangible. Could you speak a little bit about the challenges and how you overcome them in creating this institutional support system for this diversity?
Very challenging question, because see, art and artists in this country still do not have that kind of both in terms of finance as well as in terms of like a structured organizational organized in an organized way. It is totally lacking, because I just quote you my experiences with the NSD. Like when I went there, like things were so unstructurally organized. Like there was a very ad hoc approach. Although this institute is running from last 60 years, but the focus was very narrow. Like most of the administrator as a theatre director, their approach is that they have NSD alumni, they have a kind of festival, Bharat Mahotsav, and few of activities within the system, and they feel very happy about it. They never look beyond the NSD, like Indian theatre, which only 1200 alumni of NSD in last 40 years, or only 60 years. There are almost more than a lakh theatre artists working in different regions. If you combine entire India, it may be more than lakh or high number also. And they are not from NSD. They have some people who are doing as a hobby, or some as a like part-time job or something. So a institution which was supposed to like develop a model to promote Indian theatre, matlab Bharatiya Rangmanch, they never have that plan, they never have blueprint, or like and that's another example how we were influenced by the European thoughts. Like Alkaji, he is a great man, no doubt about it. He was passionate, he did best in setting up NSD, but he was having the influence of that Shakespearean theatre. And how this Shakespearean theatre came into being, whatever I have gathered from the literature. See, we have a lot of traditional theatre in India, Swan, Nautaki. In every region there is a form of theatre. Go to any part of the country, you will find a traditional form of theatre. But instead of promoting that form, Britishers, what they do, they want to destroy our culture. They want to bring their own culture. So they invited the theatre artists from UK to entertain their armies. And that way they promoted this Shakespearean model of the theatre in India. Now they invited a group, slowly they attached some Indian with that. And what will happen? The people who were surrounding, they start learning, they start performing. And like Alkaji and there are some later directors, they were also have some qualification from outside India. So the model of NSD become just a kind of modern Indian drama. They forgot about folk traditions and folk dance. They forget about Indian theatre, like, and fact of matter is that NSD is just focusing on that. So when I given this opportunity, the first thing I try to break that circle, like I open it up to entire theatre community and revises the syllabus also. Like in 1 year, the syllabus was not revised from last 25 years. I revised the syllabus just in 1 year. There was no, can you believe it? In an institute like NSD, there was no structured syllabus. There's one topic, and teacher was given full freedom to teach according to his understanding, his knowledge. So it varies, like when suppose Manoj Vajpayee is teaching acting, he will be having his own way of teaching somebody else. So there is no guideline or structured syllabus, what topics, what content should be covered. The theory part is very, very less. So we try to make it structured. And then second thing which I opened up in that was participation and collaboration with other, because there is a huge amount of money available with each and every ministry to organize cultural programs, and we were not utilizing that facility. Like I started a new way of street theatre, like messaging. Like collaborated with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and we organized street theatre promoting cybercrime. We organized more than 500 street plays in India in different locations on blood donation. We organize street plays in promoting various kind of like drug abuses or even on environment. Like when I left that place, even that time I was having a project to organize the street theatre at block level from Ministry of Rural Development. They want to promote like this Sankalp Yatra, which is going to Prime Minister's doing. Earlier idea was that we should organize block level street theatre to promote such schemes to the people, because street theatre is a very strong media of messaging, because it's a live media, and people who attend the play, they definitely got the complete picture of that. So like this transformation, I was there for near about 2 years, and there was so many such transformation. And I am not a person from theatre, but I love art and culture. I understand my own, and whenever any responsibility given to me, I try to know our roots, how these roots can be. So many of the programs and policy which I initiated there were in the direction of promoting our own form of theatre. Like I organized some kind of program, given more workshop to the folk theatre, folk traditions and other play. So basically this my experience, like even in IGNCA I am there from so many years, and I have opportunity to like in committees in many of the cultural institutions. Somewhere what is happening, like there is a mindset that the person from that field should be the director of the institute, which I feel is wrong. Because you need an administrator who understand culture, understand their discipline, but know management better, administration better, rather than like as a director of NSD will never have time to direct a play or to teach the student, because it is a demanding position. You have to look how theatre can be promoted, how activities can be organized, because your role is administrator. So somewhere I think most of the institutions are of the Ministry of Culture lacking that kind of leadership quality. So somewhere I think that's a big vacuum. Like just few days back, Ministry again asked me to take up charge of some other cultural institution. I bluntly refused, because I say no, I am not the Stepney to put anywhere where we want. I have my own interest, and I don't want that kind of arrangement again. So I think we need to develop cultural leadership. That's the one area. Second is that somewhere art and artists are mostly depend upon government grant, or they always look for donations or grants. I think they are not willing to stand up. Like theatre in Mumbai is very popular. They are keeping the tickets and everybody is buying tickets. Same in Kolkata or in Guwahati also. There are many pockets where theatre is being considered as a source of livelihood. People and big actors are working in Marathi theatre, but that's not the same case in every India. Like that, because we have never created that culture of buying ticket and seeing the theatre or other, and that's why dancers, musicians, they always look for government program, and that way our culture is not being promoted. Like culture will be promoted when people come with their own interest and they are willing to spend money to, like it may be performing art, it may be our museums or galleries. Until unless we develop a culture that people should come to enjoy, get entertainment and feel it is an informative or enjoyable place, somewhere as a part of cultural policy it need to be taken up. And this is something I've been telling many people, but I still don't see that kind of like awareness or kind of initiative taken by the people that they should take lead in having a real good cultural policy, because culture is definitely our strength. And a country like India, when we have such a vast heritage, somewhere I think it can be a good source of livelihood for many. It can be, culture can be a very good industry. That creative industry, cultural creative economy, we have not thought of like that. Just on this Monday, we have a book discussion. There was a book written by one Harsha Bhargavi. It was a good attempt on creating cultural economy, and so those kind of like initiatives are very much required. And somewhere Ministry of Culture needs, like NSD 70 crore is not sufficient for entire theatre of India. You need at least thousands crore budget to promote Indian theatre, folk traditions, and central government will never give you thousands crore. So then state government also need to take up their responsibility. In this, I will introduce a new model. I wish that will be done by Gujarat government. I met the Secretary Culture of Gujarat government and I recommended to them that you create your own repertory company, because you pay for them, and by doing that, what will happen? Your Gujarati theatre will be promoted. Language, see, by theatre is a full form, like dance or music have one component, but theatre has all these components. So it's a big source of promoting culture, language as well as your traditions, and it is a good messaging. Like you can create a lot of meaningful plays and promote it. So I think that's the way I look. But somehow, whenever I have an opportunity, I try to do it. I'm at the stage right now that I am in a scale which I am getting higher salary in the government system, and there is no increment from last 2 years because I have reached at that salary. So I work for passion, not for money. Like that's because when I accepted this NSD position, it was junior to my present level. Even then, I don't mind accepting it because I want to do something good for NSD. So that way, and whatever I have learned, it is because of my work only. I am not a like scholar or in this field. My scholarly interests are entirely my PhD in library science. I am a computer science graduate and library science postgraduate and chemistry honors graduate. So I have interest in culture because I feel that if we don't do anything, if we don't preserve it, our next generation will not forgive us. They will feel that we have not done any justice to their cause. Hello Charu, how are you?
Good sir. Hello sir.
So nice to see you after a long time.
Same here sir.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful cue. Thank you so much. So it's a wonderful session, really. Truly, you mentioned that the culture, it's we are talking about the Vasudeva Kudumbakam. I'd like to recall one of the oldest poet from Tamil Nadu. Yadum Mure Yabarum Keli. Every land is my land, everyone is my friend. It was written 3000 years ago. And now when we recall our the cultural background and the strength really is very difficult to explain. We have strong cultural background, heritage, civilization, etc., etc. What I noticed presently is that our generation, present generation, they fail to understand the philosophy behind the culture. Let us take an example, a festival, any festival. Like here, we are celebrating Pongal. It is some kind of a natural, like Thanksgiving ceremony. In Africa, they used to do that, like a Thanksgiving ceremony every year. They used to celebrate, like a rain-making ceremony. The same way we are celebrating here, which has just last month. The people, they do wear new cloth, they play jallikattu, and they cook food. At the same time, they fail to understand why they are celebrating Pongal in front of the sun god. It is some kind of celebration which need to be understood. And the same celebration has to be shared with the other state people as well. The lack of sharing our celebration, the lack of understanding our celebration, the lack of understanding, particularly the philosophy behind the celebration, it divides us. For that, I think our children, our forthcoming generation, particularly the school-going children, has to be taught real meaning of the why, what is the use of culture, what is the use of heritage, etc., etc. These are the lacking area. Otherwise, it will become a formality. That's what my own understanding. Thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely right.
Sir, I feel unfortunately we don't have a cultural education in our curriculum. We have all these science, literature, many things, but we don't have a cultural education. And sir, for your kind information, we have started a small program here. I met, when I came to this place, I interacted with the communities, met with many professionals, visited many communities here. So one day I was sitting in the ashram, some idea came to my mind. That program we have started, that is the National Capacity Building Program for Artists and Cultural Professionals. We launched the program on 1st June. The objective of that program is to, as you mentioned about the sustainable and creative art industries, the main objective of that program is to create that, especially introducing the art industry concept and how by using the indigenous knowledge systems, especially whether it is the visual, whether it is the performing or any forms of art, how the artist can survive actually. Because the practical thing is when we visit an exhibition, like suppose Gopalji's exhibition we visited, we saw his beautiful artworks, we appreciated, we commented, clapped and everything. But many artists, not all are the celebrated artists, they do not have such sufficient opportunities. Even if they do not know how to explore in their particular fields, even if they are not aware about the schemes, as I mentioned about, there are crores of rupees with the ministries, but we do not know how to use them. So when this national capacity building program we did on the 1st June, some hundreds of artists came, and the feedback was, it was for the first time something organized for them. They got some platform to interact. Gopalji was also there. So through that program, sir, we are trying to, we just took Puducherry as a role model or as a place to implement that. And we are also getting a good response to work with the communities, educational institutions, not only in India, other states, but also in other countries. And I hope that IGNCA as the nodal agency for implementation of art culture, especially starting from the ground level to the top level, and many such branches are there. In this way, we are also, sir, organizing some programs for the museums, because in Puducherry, sir, the museum sector is very neglected, you can see. Like this Puducherry museum, the government is trying to renovate because the space is not enough. We do not have a good museum, sir, here, where you can spend some time. And we are also trying to create some digital repository, digital museum, because Sri Aurobindo has also mentioned about create about this Swadesi museum in one of his writings he has mentioned. So maybe in collaborative way with the NSD and Sangeet Academy, IGNCA, and I was part of the Sahitya Academy also. So the dynamic guidance and support, many things can be implemented.
I think this city has three very important organizations, and if they decided to come together, these things are very much implementable, and because the biggest issue in field of culture is the funds.
Yes.
And I don't think these institutions have that kind of issues with the funds. They can very well create those kind of resources and can take a very much lead. And they are grants, and if they ask anything from government, either state government, central government, I don't think governments will say no to that. So I think this branding need to be catched, because you people are not a simple NGO or society. You are having a big name associated with all of you. So I think utilize that and definitely have some plan, because this capacity building, first you have to develop a kind of course contents or structured syllabus focused on certain category of artists, or it is very much possible.
So just a query that because I was not closely associated when I was at Delhi, and I was also the nodal officer from Sahitya Academy to the ministry, so at that time we had a good contact. So this national cultural policy which was implemented, uploaded on the ministry's website, is it finalized and innovated?
No, it's still not.
It's under process. Any other views or welcome? I think the time has say to goodbye to all of you, and really on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society, we pay our sincere thanks to Dr. Ramesh sir for sparing his valuable time. It was really a memorable time for us, because that there is a fix, everything is fixed. Like on 8th, some 3:30 to 5, some time was fixed. After one decade we met here, and the way you interpreted culture, especially addressing the critical and the issues, especially what is happening around the world. And we are also thankful to all of you, because also for this active participation, and we definitely continue this endeavor, especially in collaboration with the IGNCA, Madam from Puducherry University Philosophy Department, and Arvind Jakiji sir, he's in ashram school, studied from the ashrams, and an eminent artist sir, and moreover he is an athlete. He runs for some 25-30 kilometers. He has some records also in Puducherry. So we will continue this, and whatever little we do, we'll keep updating you, and wherever your guidance and support is needed, we request you to support for this. And may I request all of you to kindly join us for a cup of tea. So thanks to all of you, and we'll meet again.
Thank you all. And whenever you are in Delhi, please come to IGNCA.